Welcome back to these series of lectures on Western civilization, part one. I want to talk for a few minutes about feudalism today. Feudalism is significant because this is how the Europeans organized their society for about 1,000 years, from the end of the Western Roman Empire all the way through the French Revolution. The French Revolution will put an end, finally, to feudalism. So, socially, this is how the Europeans organized their society. Now, you can look at the depictions of feudalism that we have here for you, and you can see that it's characterized in three ways. First, it is a hierarchy. The feudal system has, you can think of it as an immense pyramid. At the apex of this pyramid, you have the king, you have the pope, you have the high church officials, you have the nobility. And then as you go down the pyramid, you encounter the lesser nobility, the vassals who have obligations to the king, lesser vassals or knights as they're popularly known. And then you go further down to the base of the pyramid and you have an immense population of peasants or serfs, they're often called. So this is a system of distinct classes, and there's not a lot of mobility here. Once you, the class into which you were born, you're likely to stay there. In other words, a peasant is not going to become king or pope in this system. There's not a lot of mobility between the different classes here. The hierarchy should also be characterized this way. It's a system of reciprocity. That is, everybody owes something to the other classes. We start at the top and move downward. The king dispenses land to his nobility. The nobility divide that land and dispense it to their vassals and knights. And then these lesser nobles apportion their land to the peasants. So the king dispenses land downward. The nobility served the king by collecting taxes for him, by fighting for him, and helping to govern his kingdom. The peasantry at the bottom contribute with food. The lesser nobility will collect taxes from the peasants. By taxes, I mean beer and wine and olive oil and bread and other foodstuffs to sustain this society. So it's a system of reciprocity. Land and protection go downward, and food and drink go upward from the peasantry. And like I said, the nobility and the vassals and knights owe the king service in the form of governance and military service. So we have a hierarchical system of distinct classes, a system of reciprocity where everybody contributes and has obligations to other classes. And then one last thing I want to say about feudalism is this. It is a decentralized system. You get the sense that every nobleman in Western Europe thinks he's a king at some point. You have a lot of warfare between the nobility of Western Europe. These noblemen maintain vast estates. They have peasants working on these estates. It's almost sort of a self-contained or self-sufficient little village. And quite often there is not an overarching political authority to govern this system. So it is decentralized. The one institution that provides some sense of unity to this feudal system, of course, is the Catholic Church. During the feudal era, you could almost characterize Europeans as being not Frenchmen or Germans or Italians. You could almost characterize them as being a part of Christendom. They're part of a larger Christian empire held together by the authority of the Pope and the cardinals, the bishops, the priest, and the structure of the Catholic Church. So just a short lecture to kind of give you a general idea about feudalism. Remember, a system of distinct classes, very little mobility among the classes, a system of reciprocity, where everybody owes something to another class, and a system of decentralization where there isn't an overarching political power most of the time. And again, finally, held all together by the church. Thank you.